Okay, so let's look at this example here. We're going to start with the hook. So here we have a hook and it says, did you know that more than 60,000 amputations were performed during the American Civil War, and today more than 2.5 million amputees live in the United States? So the type of hook that I chose to go with then was a startling statistic combined with a rhetorical question of the reader. So then next in our introductory paragraph, we have our background information. So I basically took what we talked about in the slideshow, put it into sentences, defining the American Civil War and amputees and amputations and prosthetics, and explained that these things were important in the past, they are important today, and they will continue to be important in the future. So I've outlined sort of my 3 points, and then I have my thesis statement. Therefore, the field of prosthetic medicine has been important in the past, it is important today, and it will continue to be important in the future. And to go to body paragraph 1, we're going to have to use a transition. So we have in the past, that's our transition here, in the past. And then we go into our topic sentence, which is our main idea 1. The American Civil War brought an increased need for prosthetics as the number of amputations increased. However, these prosthetics were hardly the prosthetics that exist today. So this main idea consists of 2 parts. The fact that they were necessary in the past, and also that they were quite different than they are today. And then you can see the evidence that I came up with. I quoted from the article about Walter Lenore, and then I cited that in my in-text citation here. I will not get out of heart yet. And then page 9, because it was page 9 of the scope text set, and there was no author, so I went with the title. And then I explained that these poor conditions and lack of resources led to the increase in amputees, which is part of my main idea, that there was an increased need in the past. Notice that before I go into my evidence, though, I sort of introduce it. I don't just plop the quote into the middle of my essay. I use a transition again, basically, that says, since operating conditions were far from ideal during the Civil War, amputation became the only option for most soldiers. So I wrote a little bit about the quote that I was about to give before I gave the quote. And again, my in-text citation. Then here's my second piece of evidence, and that goes along with the idea that the prosthetics have changed a lot. So again, I quoted from the letter this time, which is why I use Lenore 9, because he wrote the letter. So this did not actually come from I will not get out of heart yet. It came from the letter, which was on the same page. I used a transition. As I was talking about, there's my in-text citation. And then here's my explanation of how the evidence that I presented relates to the main idea. Hence, it is easy to see that the Civil War brought about an increase in the number of amputees needing a prosthetic, and that those prosthetics were quite different than the ones amputees receive today. So it kind of sums it all up and goes back to the main idea and says that this evidence shows this main idea. So that is body paragraph 1 and the introduction. So now let's look at body paragraphs 2 and 3. As always, you want to start your body paragraphs with a transition. So here's my transition. Due to the increased need for prosthetics after the Civil War, the field of prosthetic medicine began to develop, leading to the improvement of prosthetic limbs for amputees of today. So here's my topic sentence, or my main idea for paragraph 2, the fact that because of the Civil War, we were able to improve on those previous prosthetics, and they have become important for people today. Now I need some evidence that shows that they are still important to amputees of today. So the text that would be good for that would be the one about Lexi Youngberg, which was written by Neville. So you can see that I introduced my quote, and then I used my MLA in-text citation. Same thing with my second piece of evidence. And then I explained how this evidence that I gave here in the middle of the paragraph actually relates to or supports the main idea or the central idea or the thesis statement. Then body paragraph 3, I have my transition. Furthermore, as long as there are accidents and diseases, prosthetic medicine will continue to be a necessary field in the future. A continued study in the field will lead to even more advancements for amputees. So there's two parts there, that it's going to continue to be important and it's going to continue to lead to advancements or changes. And so then I need to have evidence that supports both of those things. So talking about the possible changes in the future and how prosthetics will still be important. And again, at each time I do that, I do my in-text citation. And then I explain at the end how all of this evidence in the middle of the paragraph supports or relates to the main idea of the paragraph and also the central idea or the thesis statement of the entire essay. So now, since we have completed body paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, we have addressed the past and how they have been important and how they have changed from the past to the present, how they continue to still be important, and how they will change again in the future and continue to be important in the future. So those are my body paragraphs. It's conclusion time. So we're going to start with the restatement of the thesis statement in slightly different wording so that it's not repetitive. So in the end, prosthetic medicine has been an important field in the past, present, and will be in the future. We have a transition, you'll notice, at the beginning of the paragraph, right in there in our topic sentence or our restatement of the thesis. Then we're summarizing the main points again, that it was important in the Civil War in the past, that the changes have made things better for people today, and that hopefully they will continue to be better in the future, and they are important for amputees. And then we're going to end with a broad statement that relates back to the hook. So we are going to use part of that statistic again that we used in the hook. With approximately 2.5 million people in the United States currently living with prosthetics, we can assume that the need to study and improve the field of prosthetic medicine is quite important. So that's the last sentence, and that's the last thought in the reader's mind. So there is the conclusion.